Stoicism. 5 Lessons from Musonius Rufus. Stoicism is an ancient philosophy that prospered in the Greek and Roman times. It was one of the most inspiring philosophies in the record of Western civilization. The school of thought was adopted and practiced by many famous personalities who were in the pursuit of a good life. It is believed to be a tool which can be the means to attain perseverance, wisdom, and tranquility of mind. Gaius Musonius Rufus believed that philosophy was the most useful thing. His philosophical teachings earned him a lot of respect and a considerable amount of following. According to the Stoic teaching, philosophy motivates and influences us in such a way that neither life nor wealth nor pleasure is good, and neither death, poverty, nor pain is an evil. Virtue keeps us from making errors in our lives, therefore it is the only good, and it is only the philosopher who seems to make the study of virtue. When a man can differentiate between what is actually good and what is evil, he will raise himself above all indifferent things and achieve inner peace. He will be able to avoid all wrong while understanding the good that is only virtue. Through temperance, he will be able to toughen his body and soul and discipline his mind. He will be able to achieve self-mastery, and both understanding and self-mastery are the means to the real end of philosophy, which is to attain true happiness. Moreover, just like any other skill, studying philosophy demands to make a practice of it as well. Musonius insisted that practice is always more important than theory, as it leads to action. He also favored a direct and concise style of teaching. A few clear and practical arguments are enough to orient the listeners and persuade them, as compared to many arguments. 1. Food. Musonius emphasized on teachings associated with daily practices, one of which was eating. He valued the advice given by Socrates, that we should eat to live rather than living to eat. He believed that whatever one's eat becomes a part of him and has its significant consequences. Mastering one's appetite led to the basis for self-control and discipline, which is a vital virtue. He taught that the purpose of food was not to attain pleasure from it, but to sustain a healthy lifestyle. Its aim is to nourish our body and mind and provide it with sufficient strength. We get energy from food when we're digesting it, so the main purpose lies in its digestion, not consumption. Most people make a fuss about what they eat, how it should be obtained, prepared, and presented to them. Craving gourmet cuisines shows a lack of moderation and is considered to be shameful according to the teachings of Musonius. Responsible people prefer those things that are easy to obtain over what is difficult, easily available rather than what is not. His opinion was that whoever eats responsibly becomes less fatigued in their work and daily lives. They fall sick less, are better able to tolerate heat and cold, sleep better, therefore are more energized than those who prefer and consume expensive foods. According to Musonius, a proper diet consists of such foods that are least expensive and are most readily available, like raw fruits in season, certain raw vegetables, milk, cheese, and honeycombs. Cooked grains and certain cooked vegetables also account for a good healthy diet. 2. Women and equal education. Musonius countered that women have been given the same power of reasoning as men. It is that power of reasoning which allows them to differentiate between good and evil. They have also the same senses and equal parts of body that are of a man. Therefore, they must have an equal desire for virtue. A woman should be able to practice all of the attributes of a self-controlled man. Musonius believed that she should make herself free from all sexual improprieties and exercise self-control over all other pleasures. She should be able to have control over her anger, should not be overcome by grief, and must be stronger than every other emotion. These are the character traits of any person having virtue, whether it's a female or male. A woman, after attaining these traits, becomes more courageous and does not bow to anyone just because of their wealth, status, or rank. Like a philosophical man, when they learn the art of self-perseverance and self-mastery, they can acquire virtue. It will not only bring honor to their families, but also help them to raise better future generations. Musonius proposed that both men and women have the same virtues, so they should be able to acquire the same teachings and education. He concluded they must also study philosophy and how to live their lives just as honorably as men do. However, he also proposed that certain tasks are more suitable and appropriate to the certain gender, like in general, men are to be assigned heavier tasks like gymnastics and being outdoors, and women are to be assigned lighter tasks like knitting and being indoors. But they both deserve equal right to acquire the same education, which will allow them to differentiate between good and bad. It will prepare them to endure toil, not to fear death or become dejected in the face of misfortune. 3. Home and shelter. According to Musonius, our dwellings should provide us with what is expected from caves. Like, they should be able to protect us and store our food the way a cave did in ancient times. They should be able to keep out the cold and excessive heat, or protect us from any harsh seasonal changes. They should be able to protect us from the elements. All extravagant furnishings and decorations are highly unnecessary and serve no purpose. Money should be spent on people rather than on things like buildings or fancy decor, cups, cookingware of gold or silver, tablets of ivory, tiles of marble. Such items are expensive to acquire, hard to use and upkeep, difficult to guard, and are impractical. He believed that illness harms the body, but living in luxury not only harms the body but also the soul. Responsible people prefer such things which are practical and are easily manageable. Cast iron, plain ceramic, wood, etc. are more useful and easily attainable. Irresponsible and thoughtless people believe that these extravagant furnishings are the signs of nobility. These make the body weak and feeble, and the soul turns undisciplined and cowardly. He characterizes these furnishings to display a sign of greed. Excessive addition of decorations will add more complications and create a stressful life. Remodeling and decorating houses will always distract us, and we won't be at peace. When we prefer living at luxury, we tend to build a fake facade. Living simple and basic provides more peace. 4. Bearing the weather. Musonius's teachings revolved around practical things in life, primarily how to live our life and not be upset over things and people who are not in our control. For example, the weather. Some people avoid or even fear harsh weather conditions and go to extreme measures to protect against such climate. However, Musonius taught that instead of being weak, we should embrace and experience the cold and heat. If one is not sick or ill, then experiencing a little cold in winter and a little sun during the summer will add pleasure to life. Practices such as these will toughen up the body, which ultimately adds strength to the mind and soul. Certain things like these can never be under our control, and we cannot let them influence us in such a way that causes us to lose focus from our lives. We should periodically let ourselves experience discomfort so that we can master self-control and discipline. By appreciating everything in life, training ourselves to desire what we already have and to stop seeking something that only brings pleasure will add virtue. If you train your mind and body, it will allow you to bear what was too difficult before and prepare you for worse. He argued that patience and discipline cannot be acquired by a person who refuses to endure pain and condemns himself to not being worthy of anything good. Preparation is not a bad thing, but fearing the weather is not a responsible thought. We should find peace and happiness in whatever situation we face. 5. Viaticum for old age. The best viaticum for old age is to live by method and in accord with nature. Man was not solely created just to attain pleasure from worldly things, but his main aim was to lead his life according to nature. If his actions manifest the excellence peculiar to its own nature, then he would be living true to his nature, that is virtue. If he lives by his true nature, in his old age, he would not complain about the loss of youthful years, fret at the weakness of his body, because he would have a good and reliable antidote for all these things in his mind, namely his past training. In general, of all creatures on earth, man is the only one whose characteristics resemble God's. Therefore, he also has the same virtue. So, if God is unconquered by pleasure, greed, envy, jealousy, and is high-minded, beneficent, and kind according to our conception of God, so man who is the mirror image of him, should he be as well when he would be living in accord with nature. he would be able to achieve true happiness, for we envy none but the happy. If one thinks that wealth could be the viaticum for old age, then he is mistaken. Wealth can acquire eating, drinking, and other sensual pleasures, but it is not able to grant the cheerfulness of soul, nor freedom of sorrow. Wealth can't also snatch from another person. Evidence has proven that wealth is not a good protection for old age.